call the meeting to order.
Take the roll call. Committee member Wall.
Here.
Thank you. Committee member Simon.
Here.
Thank you. Committee member Lang. Here. Thank you. Committee member Burtis is not able to make it tonight, also with apologies. Committee member Alden. Here. Thank you. Vice Chair Ruiz. Here. Thank you. And Chair Johnson is absent.
Great. And let's with the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice.
Right. So with that, we'll do open time for public comment regarding any non-agenda items.
Like at this time, we do not have any public online, and I do not see any email of public comments.
Okay, great. Moving on, approval of minutes of the last meeting on September 20th, 2023. Do I have a motion?
Also move
I second
to approve as written.
Great.
Right.
Approved.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. Moving on to general business. And looking at the first order of business, which is discussion of draft electric vehicle acceleration strategy work plan. And I believe how this is weaved into the acceleration strategies weaved into the work plan.
Yes.
Okay.
Correct. So this item is moving forward. This second item that's on, this is our climate action work plan for 2023-2024 that we discussed earlier this year. And so the strategy is to develop a town-wide EV strategy, and it has two components there. The first of which is moving forward. It's in progress. This committee has already weighed in on sites that would be appropriate for public town-owned EV charging stations. And so that process is ongoing. Staff are utilizing the technical assistance program that's offered by MCE Clean Energy to further evaluate those sites that were recommended by the committee as well as public works staff. The second component of this work plan item is to evaluate the Marin countywide electric vehicle acceleration strategy and select additional actions from those that are recommended in the plan that we want to pursue in Corte Madera to increase EV adoption. So the draft work plan that was included in your agenda packet is meant to fulfill the second part of that work plan item and selecting those items that we want to pursue further.
I have a question. Is this appropriate time?
Sure.
So you have the sites for this town charging stations or
Yes.
public charging stations, basically.
Yes.
And so you're having Marine Clean Energy evaluate or weigh in on the sites.
So they have a technical assistance program, but it's not MCE themselves, it's their consultant that works with. It's available for multifamily properties as well as workplaces and local government sites. So their consultant, staff are working with their consultant to do a more deep dive on those sites, looking at the electrical infrastructure that's available.
So my question is, why aren't you, as you know, Marine Clean Energy is the supply portfolio, PG&E is the buyers. So why isn't PG&E?
PG&E doesn't offer that technical assistance program as far as I'm aware.
I may be surprised, but okay.
Is the MCE program free? Is
Yeah,
like an
so
added value?
It's free technical assistance
Yeah.
that's provided to jurisdictions, and then they also have a rebate for the charging installations.
Right, but
And Karen, they do partner with PG&E.
Yeah, that's what I'm just saying. PG ultimately is the one that's responsible for actually, doing the connection. So I'm just wondering why they're not involved. I mean, why we're getting a third party involved. But if that's the most efficient way to go, it's just a question.
So this consultant actually provides design specifications for the sites, so I don't know that PG&E would offer that service.
But
That's
PG&E would still have to approve. of
Yes.
that. Yes.
correct, yes, so this isn't going through the installation phase, this is
Okay,
just
this is
really
just for the
evaluating the
site.
sites,
Okay,
the design, and then
got it.
the next step would be to select some of the actual installations, and at that point.
My only concern would be in terms of the local grid handling loads. You know, there are concerns, they have to reconfigure things, for instance, there's added loads, and I'm not sure if it's significant enough, I don't know how many sites there are, but I'm just wondering potentially of having them involved sooner rather than later, in case you have to redo the site.
So
Because of electric loads, or is that
I
already
have
taken care
some
of?
experience as a program managing, project managing for both solar installation at a school site with EV.
Mhm.
And the third part, and I've worked, I don't know if it's the same third party, but I've worked with MCE, and the analysis that they do takes into account all of the things that you're concerned about, which are all legitimate concerns, but they don't have a dog in the fight, right? They're doing the full analysis. They're not PG&E, they're not MCE, but they're taking into account all of the issues that come up. No, they do. I mean, that is the purpose, so that they're interfacing with the reality, and that includes the installation and when the interconnection has to happen.
Okay,
So,
just the
yeah.
impact to the grid, I would think,
No, they do the analysis of what the draw is and
Okay.
where they are, what part of the grid, what section
Okay,
or zone.
I think it's a really good question,
It's a
though.
great
and
question.
And I hear what you're saying too, and I see what Phoebe's saying. I'm wondering if.
What has their success rate been? Has there been any negative experience with what this consultant has done in the past, or is it too new to assess?
They've
I
been,
don't know the answer
yeah,
to that.
MCE has been in business for 13 years, and in the last 5 or so has been really, well, more than that, really ramping up programs like this. So these are companies that have been in business for decades. They're not just fly by night. So they're vetted, and they have relationships with all of the parties. Great questions. And
pointedly ask the consultant.
No, it's
have they
really,
done that,
these are really important questions.
Yeah.
I have some experience with it, so that's why I'm just chiming in. But, the follow-up, if that, with MCE, just to sort of double check that, but.
I also think that Karen, maybe, I know that PG&E well, maybe it's something to look into, and if there's something that they offer that's similar, then you can bring it to Phoebe's attention.
I see no reason to, if PG&E has a program that's local and targeted here, I just wonder about also making sure, because, it's great that they've done the analysis before, but PG&E is responsible. The grid does annual plans for the grid and changes, et cetera.
And that's where they collaborate.
It's worth looking into, like, if you see something, you can let people know.
Yeah, and I will ask that.
Okay, yeah, and maybe they've got, covered, maybe they're in touch with them, whatever. Yeah. Okay.
Any other questions about the public charging installation project? Before I move on to the work plan. Okay, so the staff report had some background on the countywide EV acceleration strategy. It was developed by MCEP. And committee members Burtis and Simon reviewed that strategy and met with staff to develop the recommendations for this work plan. It's focusing on items that are either continuing or to be completed in the next 2 years. So it's really a near-term plan. And because of that, a lot of these actions are likely to be incorporated into the 2024-25 climate action work plan, which we'll be focusing more on at the next meeting. And a lot of the items that are on here are current practice. So For example, the outreach items at the top there, that's something that this committee has already been focusing on, and that we have that information on the town website. And several of the items are also already on our current climate action work plan, so they're just identified here because they'll be continuing. So that includes this, looking at locations for public EV charging installations and evaluating those so that they can get on work plan to be implemented, installed. The reach code items, we have adopted, the town's adopted a EV reach code for new construction, but the renovation reach codes are pending along with the other renovation reach codes. But that is on the work plan. And then some of these items are in progress as part of the other items. So using available assistance for charging site analysis, that's happening as part of this PC1 action. And then we're looking specifically as part of that evaluation, looking for spots that make sense in terms of where they're going to be used by town vehicles that are being electrified, as well as by the community, and particularly helping to prioritize sites near multifamily buildings to support those residents in transitioning to electric vehicles. There are 5 new actions on this work plan that staff and the committee have not been focusing on so far. And those are shown on this page. One is the identify electric bike support facilities. And that's something that Pat expressed interest in, and he was going to start looking into that item, coordinating with local public utilities to prepare the grid for more charging load. That's a discussion that's taking place at the countywide level. And then PC10 is something that I believe Bill has been working on, but it's on here bolded as something that Pat and Bill and I felt was an important effort to expand on, reaching out to employers and multifamily property owners, because we know those shared private parking lots are really a need for EV charging installations, and the MCE rebates and technical assistance are available to those property owners to help encourage EV charging installations. And then the last 2 on here, developing a fleet replacement plan and identifying a fleet manager, are really on the town side, and helping us also to comply with state legislation that's going to be going into effect, and comply and exceed state regulation that's regulating our vehicle purchases and what percentage are electric vehicles. So goal of this item is really just to review this work plan with you all and get any feedback that you might have, answer any questions. And then, as I mentioned, at the next meeting, we'll be talking more about how to incorporate this into our overall climate action work plan for the next year.
Now it all made sense to me, and Phil and Pat, thanks for the work on it. It did occur to me though, looking at some of this, I wonder where outreach can play a role. So it's not something to discuss now, but something as we think about outreach when we discuss in December. So like, I'm even thinking if, we have an advocacy freezo to, I don't know, multifamily properties or something, can we talk about this as a goal and the support around it?
Yeah, definitely.
And then the only other thing I was going to say is just advocacy in the county in terms of our fleet. I think we're making really good strides on our fleet. Just
So in terms of publicizing that.
Yeah. With other jurisdictions too.
We had talked about doing, a large poster or banner that really talks about what the town is doing. So it's not just you should be doing these things, but look what the county's doing, look what Corte Madera is doing. The jurisdictions are engaged, the government is engaged and leading. So I'd love to, when we talk about outreach more in December,
Mhm.
having a list of things that we really want to commit to and get produced, I think would be, add that to our to-do list.
Yeah. I was thinking advocacy on your part, Phoebe, so I want to give you a to-do.
Yeah.
Yes to what you're saying, but also like I imagine the groups that you get together and cross jurisdiction.
Yeah.
There's probably a place for that.
Right, yeah. Any
You
other
have
comments
plenty
or-
to dos on here, so I don't.
I have, and this is relates more to my personal home site than anybody else, but, in my street where there are smaller homes, a lot of people either don't have garages or have converted garages.
Mhm.
So is there any, do you know of any, like, is there something like near the street you can lock, or have there been any innovations that way, or does it have to be in your garage or?
For the charger.
Well, it can be in your garage and you can run an extension cord to wherever you need to go.
Yeah, but
Or you can put a remote outlet, wire it into the panel. And put an outlet on your property line.
I was gonna say, I mean, my daughter had like a car, and my concern was either the car or the cord had to cross the sidewalk.
Yeah.
And that was like a real safety hazard.
Oh, yeah.
So-
Good.
No, we're not a place, it's not a place to park on the property.
So to that point, though, there are, I'm sure on your street, you've got light poles, right?
Put the wire over it.
No.
Oh,
No. The technology is all over Europe where the light pole, which has electricity
Mhm.
going to it, you can charge your car with, there's a technical adaptation that has to happen, but you can charge your car right off the poles.
Yeah, but who pays for it?
They do it. No, it's like all of the others. It's like all of the ways. It's a card.
Oh,
It's
I
a
see
card.
what
No,
you're
it's
saying.
all,
I
it's
see what you're
all,
saying.
it's wireless.
Your house.
But I think it's cool. I think it's something to research.
Okay.
Yeah, that is something, they've had some pilot projects in LA, of street light post EV charging stations, so,
Cool.
yeah, that's a good point to bring up. And that could be something, if there's an area of town where there's,
Actually a lot. I run, not only on my street with smaller houses and people doing that, but also I just, I've been with a friend last year, looking for houses. A lot of people converted their garages to extra
Right.
space and office, so they no longer have that.
Right.
And so then how do they charge? It's a impediment to get an EV.
Absolutely. That's not that. And we've talked about this, I think, in a couple of meetings, or it's come up at least in conversation. And I don't know what the process would be, Adam. Would we make is it possible to retrofit an existing light pole? I guess it's question number one. And if not, then we add as light poles get replaced, what would that process be? Because we could have them down any street that has light poles. We could have that retrofit or replacement, replace on burnout kind of a thing.
It's not that frequent.
No, it's not.
But
It's
you may as
not,
well
but
get it
it's,
going.
yeah, I mean, I would imagine that the retrofit is possible. I don't imagine that it's cheap
Yeah,
and easy, but it's because, in Europe, they didn't just take out all of the existing street lamps and put in new. So,
But it's worthy of like seeing what's possible and
Right.
testing something.
Yeah,
right,
I would
let's
want to
pilot
try
it.
and just look into that because I, personally
Yeah.
interested. Yeah, okay.
And then of course the
Certainly,
outreach.
there wouldn't be a lot of electricity involved necessarily. I mean, the average person drives 40 miles a day.
Right,
So
Mhm.
they can plug in their car and put a transformer in there
right.
and.
Or there's a
Yeah.
timer on the pole, or I don't know.
And,
but I know it's possible.
I
It's
would think
cool.
that if they do it in mass, that it's gonna be relatively simple and not that expensive and wouldn't put a hardship on the grid necessarily because you're
Don't
at
know.
110 volts.
But but how do you charge it back to the customer?
Like the orange
Which is the
outlet
way-
outfit, that's the easy part, doing that over the web. That's the easy part. The hard part is putting the outlet on the street lamp pole. But yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Okay, if they can figure out how to make money, then I think we can figure out how to.
No,
There you
that's
go.
another point,
There
right?
you go, that's it. Okay.
And that could be something that is a revenue stream for the town. I mean, I don't, this is something,
Well, I mean, it gets more complicated.
Of course.
A lot of our light poles are essentially operated under Marine General Services.
right, GSA, right?
GSA, and they sort of have the authority over those.
Well, we know them, we can talk to them.
Yeah, but it won't be necessarily a revenue source for the town. But
Revenue sharing.
Something to explore. I think that that's an interesting one.
Yeah.
Well, at least
Yeah.
cost to frame it.
Yeah. Okay, was there anything else on this agenda item, Phoebe?
I didn't have anything else if there's no other comments from the committee. And I don't see any public comment at this time either.
Is there anything else anybody wants to comment on related to the plan and the new items on the work plan?
Not that we just added one.
That's a mess of work. Okay, great, no public comment. Okay, so we can move on to the potential student ambassador, and that was an attachment. This was something that Dave, myself, and Phoebe drafted up, and the idea was to have everybody take a look and see if there were any thoughts about it, any changes, any additions that you might want to put in the description and or questions. So
I thought you guys did a great job. But if you want to give the high points for discussion.
sure. Okay, so the idea is that we would have a student ambassador, and I think this is up for discussion, whether we have one or one for the high school and one for the middle school, that would basically act as a liaison between us and the school or student population. And so that can take various forms. So communicating and collaborating with other students on various actions that they feel are important and or, dovetail into our CAP. Promoting climate action to the student population, and I would say their parents by extension. Volunteering at our events. Thank you, Phoebe, for pulling that up. And then I think there's this piece of that I think we found very valuable, which is having the student voice in our initiatives and how we either promote and or where our focus is. And I think that that's important. So this person could exercise that as well. We can't have somebody, so that's essentially the high level. We can't have someone on the committee. So the idea would be to have them join our meetings once a month and or work with individuals on the committee as needed. But then they could comment, from what I understand, via public comment.
Yes.
Can they get the packet? Would they be able to get, because the packet's public, so, and I'm thinking for the school year. So it means it's a very tight timeframe. But I think it's doable, and I think to whatever extent they can contribute or give feedback and perspective is really valuable. So.
Is there a time commitment that you outlined? I don't remember.
We said a year.
But I didn't know if like per month or per week. And the reason I ask that is because juniors and seniors get very, very active and sometimes drop off because they've got so many other commitments. And to have them, commit to doing X amount of work each month and coming to meetings each month for an hour and a half, that there's some expectation that we sort of hold them to, because otherwise it's, in name only.
It's funny because I completely agree with you, and I must have dreamt that because I thought we put it in there. Did we discuss it over notes or something?
Yeah, it might have been in an email.
I agree with you. And I think we have to find that happy medium. And this is where the students could probably give us thoughts too, which is like, what could they handle? And also what would have an impact at some level?
Right. What's valuable to them.
Yeah.
besides their college applications.
The other thing I see you have on there, the engaged student population, parents and educators. I understand that there's various climate action clubs or environmental clubs. Would we require that they, what's involved in engaging the student population? Would it be giving feedback to the school club, or giving a lecture at some science class, or can we be a little more specific about the feedback on the other way?
Yeah, well, tell me what you think. I think I had in here rallies, because I think it could be all of the above. And I think the broader, the better, frankly, for amplification. But I think I put school clubs, school rallies, and assemblies, but and newsletters, I think I have in here.
Right.
But you just mentioned something else, like in classroom
Like in
settings.
class, but maybe we would, bring on the ambassador, and they would have a plan, this is how I'm gonna do.
Yeah,
Communicate, this is what I'm gonna do. In each one of those things, I'll say, okay, this is what I'm gonna do. Therefore, have me as the ambassador, I don't know. Maybe when you interview.
I like that.
Yeah.
I have, three questions, 3 comments, one question and 2 comments. Is there an interview process, or is it just whoever raises their hand? Number 1, what would we do as a committee to support them? Number 2, and number 3, well, the reason I was not at Oktoberfest on Saturday was I was in the city at the Bay Area Youth Climate Summit at California Academy.
Mhm.
This is a Bay Area organization of kids, and they're amazing. And they've got California Academy, in their corner and supporting them. So it's there, as you said, there are a lot of kids groups, and deep youth involvement and concern and activism. But there are often teachers in the schools who are advisors. So there's maybe a kind of a 2-prong approach that we would be maybe figuring out who those teachers are, and what, who do they see as a likely candidate, or what would be, because kids need support, they need guidance, they need sounding boards. We want to make it successful for them, and work for our issues and our efforts as well, right? So
To your point, how would people feel? I think there's really good points. I'm glad you're involved in all this. What about if we contacted the quote right teacher, whoever it is, and have them nominate? And either maybe they nominate 1 or 2, we interview, or we trust them. Something like that. But I think that's really a good point, as opposed to just randomly getting,
Well, I think we should, Phoebe, we need to decide what we need to decide on as a group, and then pass it on to staff, right? Is that the next step? Like, how does this get approved for move forward?
Right, so I think the goal tonight would be for the committee to agree that this is something you all want to move forward with. And then, Amy, you and I, or us and Dave can work together to finalize this description.
Okay.
all right.
So yes, I think some of the key questions that the group needs to discuss is how are you all going to run the program? Because this needs to be a committee-led program, just for staff time constraints, and what that time commitment is going to look like on your end. Who's willing to be responsible for that. And then we had also talked about, is this a indefinite length program, or do you want to have a pilot year and then reevaluate at the end of next year and see how it went? And if the committee were to have a youth member in the future, would you feel that this was still a program that's needed? Maybe that's something you can reevaluate at that time.
What about doing a trial for 6 or 7 months? I'm just thinking
well, that's the school year.
October through March, because that gets it September, they get oriented, they get the nomination, and then done by March, so that then there's end of school year activities, finals, et cetera. And that would give us time to evaluate. Because I think it really is going to require supervision and making sure we have things to do that aren't too taxing, et cetera. Yeah.
Yeah, I love the pilot. I think that this is like a end game, you know what I mean? Like there's work to get to this. So the idea of maybe putting it out there between now and the end of the year, seeing what comes back, picking a student ambassador or two, and like you're saying, pilot it for the next 6 months so that we're really ready to go come the beginning of the next school year. And we can work through things like how we identify the candidates. I'm definitely in favor of reaching out to all the different constituents in the schools that we can, teachers, professors, green teams, principals. I also want to make it accessible, so it's open to anybody. I think that's really important.
Could I make a suggestion that the student has to be going to school here in Marin?
Oh, yeah.
Because last year,
Oh, right. Got it.
right? And so,
I was like, well, of course.
Yeah, no.
Okay.
I think that whether it's public or private school, that they're really in the community.
Yeah.
Because I think that there are enough distractions without adding on commuting and, that sort of
Yeah.
time constraint. When we started this group back in, I don't know, 2018 or 19, I don't even remember how long ago, we had two fabulous students. Meredith was one, but she was much younger and then she went off to college. But we had a couple of really great students who were in high school and really committed. And they were just a huge asset. And this is when we had, like 15 people initially.
Yeah.
Right. And so I think it's really important. It gives them a voice so that they're really integrated in the work and feel part of the work and feel supported in their passion to be doing the work as well.
Yeah.
So I think the collaborative piece is incredibly important, and it's always going to be iterative. Everything we do, we evaluate and reevaluate and try something new and evaluate again. So calling it a pilot, I think, yes, but I would say let's go full on and just have it like this is stage one, but we're not just going to pilot and then quit. A pilot kind of says to me that, well, this might not work, so we might not continue it. I'd like us to commit to continuing it, but phasing it like this is phase one and phase two will be next year or something like that.
How does everyone feel about that?
Yes, I just want to clarify. I mean, yes, but first, I think the idea would be to tweak it, be it the pilot or whatever, right? Yeah. But so is it going to be students in Corte Madera or students, we open up to Marin, that's huge.
Well, if they go to school in Marin. So for instance, they live in Corte Madera, but maybe they go to Marin Academy or
So they
Marin
have to-
Catholic
they have to
or.
live. But if you do that, the outreach to the schools is huge. And then how do we choose?
That's a
between,
good point.
So-
between this and the other and
I think
So my
ideally
lens was
it would
on
be-
Redwood and Hall. So
Yeah.
it's possible that the person would be Corte Madera here or Larkspur, but
then you're going to exclude private schools.
well, high
No,
school
we've got Marin Primary, but that is in Larkspur, and we've got MCDS, which goes up to 8th grade, Paradise. But
Well, but then, you have Marin Academy,
Right,
Branston. you
But
have-
I'm looking I think we should just for now look at.
Maybe that's
my 2
phase
cents,
one.
just on Corte Madera.
that's phase one.
Yeah, I think it does
Make it
need to
simple.
be a Corte Madera resident. This is the Corte Madera.
But
Climate
how
Action
is-
Committee.
Look, a Corte Madera resident and a
And
Corte
the
Madera
district
school
Corte Madera school. Yeah.
for this first phase.
Okay.
Does that work?
Yeah,
I
well, we're
agree.
looking
I
at
agree.
wanting that person to go back to the community and sharing information with the Corte Madera community, then I think it makes sense to have them attend a.
Corte Madera school. Good point.
Would that be the Marin Country Day School is the Corte Madera school?
That's
Right?
good.
Yeah, I put Marin Country Day, MCDS and Redwood, and I think Marin Primary should be in there.
Yeah, I mean, if since Hall is technically in Larkspur,
Redwood and Hall are technically.
right, so then
But school
including
district,
Marin Primary, MPMS.
But are we agreeing as a committee that the student ambassador would need to be a Corte Madera resident?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Okay,
What about, why is my blank and my daughter even went there for 2 years?
Sounds like,
Timel Pius, grade school, middle school, private.
is that here?
It's in Mill
It's
Valley,
in Mill Valley.
but we're kind of looking, I mean.
So, yeah, so we
well,
can
home's
start,
right here in Marksburg.
no, but she's talking about Tamil Pius.
I know.
Which is in Mill Valley.
Right, but so for the first phase, when we test drive the details,
Okay.
let's keep it
And
very
again, think
local,
about it if we-
very local, middle school and high school.
Okay,
And then evaluate the program and see what we want to expand
right,
Great.
as we go forward
right.
Okay,
next year.
so to answer one of your key questions, who wants to run it?
I cannot do that now. I just can't, I can't take on more this fall. So. But I am, I'm student adjacent. Interested and concerned and caring for
Yeah,
kids.
we'd need to see more about the structure of the program too, but
I think we get to create it.
yeah, I don't.
I can
I'm
help
unsure.
with that, but I can't lead it.
And it could be one or two people who are working on it together.
Unsure.
Martin?
When are you coming back, Mark?
I'll be at the next, I will be at the next meeting, that's for sure.
Yay.
Okay, so you'll be here in November. How long will you be staying?
It's through May,
Okay.
for
That's
sure.
Perfect. So I think that's something we should try and nail down. That absolutely, we need someone who's gonna have the time to commit.
So let me do this as an action item with Phoebe. I will go back around with Dave and also open it up to Patrick and see if one of them wants to lead it and or tag team. I know, to your point about asking, like a faculty sponsored, Dave did reach out to someone at Redwood that's like, yeah, tell me a little bit more about it. We're in the beginning of school and things are nuts. So let me take that as an action item. I also think together with you, Phoebe, we can, and Dave, refine the expectations based on what we heard here. I think the time piece is really critical, actually. But I don't think we need to like polish it to death. I think we need to socialize it and see. I'm also, I guess the one thing that I would want to know from the group is like, do we do a formal application process similar to what we did for the committee and open up a window and, or just, I mean, how do we want to approach that?
I think talking to the teachers, identifying teachers who they walk among us, they're here and they're passionate about what they're doing in their curriculum. This could be something that is, an add-on for the curriculum this year, but something that they can incorporate into their curriculum next year as a sort of a thought process.
Okay, so then Phoebe, I'm just looking at your notes in here. They would have to apply to be a committee member for this to be possible.
For them to become a committee member.
For the committee.
But not an ambassador.
Right. My suggestion was that the committee create a sort of modified version of the application that you all filled out.
Yeah.
That was more
Why do you want to do this?
focused towards
Yeah,
youth.
right.
And then, because that gives everyone an opportunity to apply, even though, yes, I think pushing it out through teachers and people who are leading those climate sustainability groups in schools makes a lot of sense. But that way we can post it on the website and it's open to everyone who may want to apply.
That's perfect. You're right. Absolutely.
Okay,
And
Right.
I'm happy to be supporting this effort and I just can't lead it. And I'm sorry. It's just, my life is, the work that I'm doing right now is just too much.
I'll read over this description again and think about it.
okay, that'd be great. I'll shoot you an email and see what you think. Okay, all right, so next steps here is I'll chat with Karen, maybe offline, Dave and Pat, and see if they want to work on this. And then we'll refine this and create like a 5-line application and identify clubs and or faculty that can help push this out. Sound like a good,
Great. I think that's great. And Amy, you had also mentioned reaching out to some students to get some initial feedback and understand interest.
I did, and I was planning to do that before coming to this meeting, but I haven't yet. But I can still do it this week before having something formal, so I'll get that done soon.
Yeah, because I'm, trying to think about, I think one thing, that we need to spend some time doing, if we go through with this, is educating the student on what this committee does and doesn't do, because I know that took me a while to kind of grasp, because I read the plan and I thought, wow, there's, flooding and this and that, and when in fact, there's sort of set tasks that's assigned to the committee and other things aren't, and I can see a very altruistic student coming in and saying, well, we have to
Good point.
do this, that, the other, and
Yeah.
so I think we have to be really clear, this is what the committee does and doesn't do.
Great.
Yeah.
Sort of a job description.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, an outline of, I always go back to wanting it to be collaborative so that we're taking their input as well, but that there is a certain level of expectation that is aligned with what the committee does.
Yes, and I see, your view's expectation, I'm trying to.
Well, I don't,
It's too many years ago trying to remember what I would have thought at that age,
right,
but my
It's like the
concern is
scope of the
if
committee.
we leave it open-ended, they might be lost. I think
Yeah.
at that
Right, yeah,
age, I really
right.
wanted very specific assignments,
right.
but,
But I think that's a question to ask of the teachers.
yeah, maybe get some feedback before we push
Yeah.
the button, on
Right,
some-
and I think that
Yeah.
the faculty advisor approach will help everybody. It'll help us refine our thinking. It'll help a student or students interact
Mhm.
teachers are really good interpreters,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Okay. Thank you for all the
Translators.
feedback. I think in an effort, I'm watching the clock and moving us along.
Yeah.
So the next
So-
steps here.
Yeah, and just from a staff perspective, it'd be helpful to have a motion to just formalize that the committee would like to move forward with this program, and that Amy will work with staff to finalize and continue gathering input outside of the meeting.
Great.
If you all feel ready for that.
So, do I have a motion to agree that this would be a good thing to move forward with?
So moved.
You have to say it. So you can't make the motion, can you?
I don't think I can make them.
No, okay, so I move that.
So moved.
Item 4B, the draft student ambassador role description and process, move forward with our vice chair and staff, Phoebe Golden, to refine and expand based on the discussion that we had today.
Great. Does anybody want to second that?
I'll second.
Great. All right. Okay, so let me just confirm the 4 action items.
I think we should actually have a roll call, just
Okay.
confirm.
Oh, okay, go for it.
Yeah, just as we had the motion, then.
Oh, got it. Okay.
We'll vote.
First and second, yes, okay.
So committee member Wall,
Yes.
committee member Simon,
Yes.
thank you, committee member Lang.
Yes.
Committee member is absent, committee member Alden,
Yes.
and vice chair Bruce.
Yes,
Thank you.
thank you. All right. 1 action, identify owner. Dave, I'll check in with Karen, Pat for myself, or 2. Second, socialize with students and advisor that Dave had originally reached out to. Refine with town staff and Phoebe the description and the application creation, and then push out through faculty and clubs within Hall, MCDS, Redwood, and Marin Primary. Great. All right, do we have public comment?
seeing any hands raised.
Great. Okay, moving on to C, discussion and possible action to appoint a committee member to serve as a liaison to the Marin Cas Collaborative.
Which is meeting tomorrow.
Is this your agenda item?
No, it's not. I have standing meetings on Thursday afternoon, so it's not something.
Yeah,
Oh, it might be in my.
So
Right.
I can introduce this.
Okay.
So Jody Tins, who is the chair of the Fairfax Climate Action Committee, organizes this monthly meeting, which is a collaboration between all the climate sustainability groups in Marin County. And she sent me this description of the group to share with you all. The Marin Climate Action and Sustainability, which is abbreviated as CAS Collaborative, is an informal network open to 1 to 2 community volunteers per municipality who serve on existing local government committees and commissions and additional climate leaders in communities without a formal structure. It typically meets on Zoom the third Thursday of each month and is hosted by Jody. So I believe some members of this group have attended occasionally. But the idea is this is really an opportunity for you all to connect with others in Marin who are doing similar work and to share what Corte Madera is working on, hear about what they're working on. And ideally, the committee would appoint one person and possibly also an alternate to attend those meetings. But of course, due to Brown Act, we can't have more than 3 of you all attending those meetings, and Jody's requesting 1 to 2. So that's what the goal of this item is. Anything to add to that, Leslie?
No, that was perfect. I don't know who, Phil, you've gone to a couple, right?
No,
No, you haven't. Okay, I thought someone in our group did.
I am on the distribution, but I have not gone. I think what's tricky is we are Wednesday and then they're Thursday. Right
Yeah.
after. And so I
Right.
think the timing, just from my perspective, I can't volunteer for this because the timing it's 2 things, 2
So-
nights of the week.
I could, except not this month or next. But after that, I would be interested.
That would
It's
be
a good
great.
group.
It's a,
Yeah, but I'd have to. Fortunately, yeah,
Well, between the 2 absent members of this committee, perhaps there's, we can get 2 or 3 and we can alternate.
I'm happy to do it.
Great,
okay,
great.
great.
done.
If you're not here, you get.
Tag, you're it.
Oh, that's quick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank
We
you,
need to
Phil.
have action.
I think you'll enjoy it.
Let's take notes on it.
Yeah, no, I think you'll enjoy it.
You could just do it informally.
Okay. So I make the motion to have Bill be the committee's representative on Marin Cas and potentially,
I could be an alternate.
is there a second?
I second. All in favor?
Oh, all in favor, aye.
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 Great.
Thank you.
And if we can have 2, then that opens it up. So it's not just necessarily an alternate if no one else can show up. But if there are 2 that can regularly attend, that would be great. And maybe David or,
Great.
yeah.
And they'll send a Zoom link.
Yeah, so I will
Jody has
get
that.
in touch with Jody and let her know that you 2 are gonna be the representatives.
That's great. Awesome. We are moving right along. All right, so do we have public comment on this before we move to updates and reports?
I do not see any members of public wishing to speak.
Great. Okay, so updates and reports, and I'll hand it off to staff.
Yeah, so just brief reports. The town is sponsoring the Marin Green Home Tour, which is taking place on October 26th on Zoom in the evening. I believe it starts at 6 p.m. So that's an event that highlights projects that other community members in Marin are taking to green their homes and provide some inspiration and advice, talk about what their experience was. I haven't been yet, but I've heard really good things about it. So I can send out the link to that after the meeting if anyone's interested in registering and attending that. And just a reminder to let me know if you're going to be missing any of the meetings around the holidays. The next meetings will be November 15th and December 20th. And thanks to those who've already let me know about their attendance.
I should be here.
That's all I have for staff updates.
All right. Any committee members have updates they want to share with the group?
Well, no. I mean, I sort of, I heard today that, like Berkeley, New York is being sued. But there's a workaround that's being discussed, in California Building Decarbonization Group. I was on a meeting with them today, and it was going by really fast. So I'm going to have to go back and look at the notes, but I'm not even going to talk about it. It's just that it's another approach using different language in ordinances that circumvents the issue that Berkeley and perhaps New York State is being challenged on. So I'll keep you guys posted on that. I thought it was really interesting, and my ears really picked up when that conversation started. So
I don't know if it's possible. Can we circulate that information? Do you have an article or something?
It was just in conversation in a meeting today.
Okay.
And I'll look at those notes and I'll hand whatever I can find to Phoebe,
Okay.
who can distribute.
Good.
Yeah.
I'm
Well,
very
that's-
interested in that.
And then, and
that's a
there's
real
no
challenge.
news. There's no news on the Ninth Circuit. There's nothing, there's no update on that. But a whole bunch of legislation got signed, which is good. Good climate stuff got signed by the governor.
Has
Great,
there
thank you
been,
very
maybe has there been any word from the CEC on the IRA rebate program?
Nope.
No,
That came
okay.
up today too. I mean, yes, it's coming. It's coming,
It's-
but we don't have
yeah.
details yet. But
So
have
the
you,
IRA
Phoebe, have you heard anything else?
That stands for what?
What does it stand for? It's
The Inflation Reduction Act.
the Inflation Reduction Act, which is,
Well, I know what that is, but what does rebate pertain to?
oh, no,
It's-
so the funding is coming from the feds to the state. So the California Energy Commission will be figuring out where the various pots of money
So
go.
you're
Yeah,
saying, where does that go?
yeah, and
Okay, so
so
you're
we don't know yet.
discussing it.
Yeah, yeah.
It's
There's a huge
in
pile of-
addition to the tax refunds, the tax rebates that are already in effect. But this is where the actual checks are going to be written to people who are buying, the hot water heaters and so on. It's just
Okay.
critical that this happen, and the delay is really intolerable. That's all I'll say about it.
It's more than just the rebates. It's huge sums of money for big projects,
Yeah,
really
and-
big
and-
infrastructure projects.
And training for people and all that sort of,
Yes.
yes, it's huge.
Yes. It's huge. The rebates is just sort of almost a side note compared to the rest of it.
Yeah, and
Just
every,
Martin, just,
yeah, go ahead.
no, I was just gonna say, having witnessed some of those programs that go down from the federal and to be sympathetic, it is really hard to design these programs without having the money get totally wasted. And
In the
then a
design
lot of it gets
process.
wasted anyway. You do your best, but hopefully the money will come soon, but I have some sympathy.
Yeah, I do too.
All right, well,
It's
we're
a
moving
miserable
on to year
process.
2 now. Anyway, yes.
All right.
It's true.
Any other committee member updates?
I have a question, and I was hoping that Dave would be here. Remember, he provided the Kevin Morrison's quit carbon estimate for that 120
right.
volt thing. And I was going to ask if I could take that and maybe, edit it up and, anonymize it maybe to the extent we need to, put it in the Chronicles as an example of how that would move forward. So I was hoping Dave would be here, but maybe if you all agree, I can just pursue with him to find out if if Kevin, whoever he is, would
You
think
can
that's
actually
okay.
contact him. Yeah, you can contact Kevin directly.
I don't have his number.
I will get it to you.
Thank you.
You bet.
The
That's a
other
great
thing,
idea.
however, the other thing I am going to say in there is that with 120 volt heat pump water heater, you have to have an oversized one because it does not have the backup heating element that you have when you have a 240 volt one. So it really does have to be oversized, which is what Kevin's was with an 80 gallon. But that's really the only downside of the 120 volt version of the thing that I can see, unless you all have a different opinion. That's all.
Thank you for that. Yeah, I think that's a great idea. Okay, I don't have I have an update in that, I think before the meeting started, we were talking a little bit about outreach and just some ideas. And I know that Karen, you gave an idea that was really cool. The idea is that I would pull together a summary of our outreach in partnership with Phoebe to share in December or next, when we talk about agenda items. But I just wanted to let people know that is in the works, so that it will serve as a foundation as we discuss 2024. And then the other piece is the advocacy prezo that we did with the Lions Club. I took it and sort of refined it a little bit, and Phoebe and I will work on that, and maybe we'll get one in before the end of the year. I don't know, we'll see. But anyway.
Is there a way to put that on the website? I mean, if there's a sort of a stripped down, non-specific,
You mean the presentation?
yeah.
I think if we give it once or twice and we feel really good, some of the data needs to be updated. I don't see why not, but I would wait on that for now, but I think it's a good idea.
And maybe this isn't the time, but I realize, reaching out to the community includes the clubs, but do we feel the Lions Club and the others, is that how we're going to reach people to move forward climate action? Is that reaching people interested in climate action? Have you felt that with the people?
Yeah, we presented a year ago now to the Lions Club, and it was very well attended. They had dinner, and I was just sort of expecting people to leave after they finished their food while we were still talking, and they didn't. And we had a lot of people stay and ask questions. So there was interest. Apparently we didn't blow it and we're not boring, so they stayed. It went well, and it was the first time we've done it, and unfortunately the only time we've done it. So I think practice makes perfect, but each presentation is going to be different. It's a different audience. I mean, there can be sort of the package that we can all do, but refining it or tailoring it a little bit for each audience, whether it's homeowners, and being able to answer questions like, and this gets technical, right? Like, well, if I put solar on my roof, what happens? Or if I want to charge my EV, but there's no place to pull in, how would I do that? The wire across the sidewalk, as you were saying earlier, right? And it's like, we're going to get questions like that, and we need to not be flat-footed. We need to be well-versed enough on the details ourselves that we can answer some of those questions, or at least be able to say, I don't know the answer, but I'll find out and we'll get back to you.
Yeah, or here's a resource.
Right.
I think and I think the reason this is important to continue to test is we have to find a way to amplify. 2 hours at a farmer's market, we hit 30 people. Can we hit a room full of 40 and then they go tell 5 people each?
Right.
Then we really,
Right.
It's a ripple.
I guess my concern is that I would see the target audience as people who are thinking of making an appliance purchase or some other home alteration, not necessarily just members of the community. So how can you target people who are specifically interested in doing something?
Well, I think, so your idea about the library is a great one, right? So we can say, hey, are you remodeling your home? Great, that could be
Or
the
these
theme
are all
of
the,
that,
right,
right?
actions, come find out about, or here's what
Yeah.
the town is doing right now.
I think we have to sort of think about all the different targets and how we might, because the trick is actually getting the people in the room.
Yes.
So
Yeah,
that is
yeah,
something that we're gonna have to contend with.
and I think getting the right people in the room.
But that's a really good point, because people who are thinking about it are maybe going to the building department. They're thinking about it, like, what is this going to take? So having, if we're going to do an event at the library or the Lions Club or wherever, having a flyer with a QR code that says, you know, this takes you to the website. This is, you know, details about, you know, are you interested? Would, you know, go in the market. It would go on shop windows. It would, you know, I mean, like,
You know, I'm bringing that up because I know a couple of people who have recently replaced their furnace, and the people they talk to are their contractors.
right,
And they say, yeah, go ahead and replace with gas. Why not? It's efficient.
exactly.
So, I mean, are we reaching, you know, I know they have their own agenda, whatever, I'm sure you're whatever, but, I don't know. I just thinking,
And it's
just
the buyer.
reviewing who
The
you're-
buyer's gonna drive the market when people are educated and they say, no, I want a heat pump. I've learned about this, or I want an induction stove, or
Yeah.
all of the health issues around gas. I'm working to electrify. People get that, then they're telling their contractors, no. I want to do this. That changes the market.
It's a push and pull, so just for the
Yeah.
sake of time and
Yes.
making
Yeah,
sure
let's
that we
move on.
stick to
Yeah.
the, only because it has to be agendized, but maybe we think about putting this back on the agenda. It's come up before of how do we reach the build community?
Yeah,
So I would suggest maybe throwing it in Phoebe's
Yeah,
form,
we do
because
that.
I think we
Yeah.
could have a really robust conversation
yeah,
and think about it from an outreach perspective.
yeah.
Okay, so
Weighing on
ad hoc subcommittees, do we have ad hoc?
We don't have any
Nope.
relic on the agenda.
All right, so do I take public comment or we move on to future agenda items?
Future agenda items.
Future agenda items. Erin.
So I have two for the next, for
Great.
the November meeting. We'll be having a presentation from Christina Borg on the 2021 greenhouse gas inventory,
Yay.
which is recently completed, as well as some of the building inventory data you can incorporate.
Great.
And then we'll have the discussion about priority setting for 2024, 2025.
Will that include a change from the prior data?
Yeah.
You know, this is what changed kind of thing?
Yeah,
On the inventory?
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah,
normally
okay.
there's a comparison slide, yeah. I can make sure that's included.
Great, is there anything else anybody wants to speak to regarding future agenda items? And the form is excellent. It's a very easy way to,
add things.
yeah. So I'm promoting it.
You use it elsewhere too.
Oh, yeah, it's great. All right, anything else before we close this out?
Almost 30 minutes before.
I gotta let.
We gotta
Dave know
talk to
about
Dave.
this.
We gotta.
Angling to be fair.
All right, so do I need to say anything or just
Go for it.
meeting is?
Meeting is adjourned. All right.